Hi, I'm Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to talk about a specific problem that I've seen quite a few companies that I've worked for fall into. But this is kind of a high-end problem, and so I'm just going to I'm going to talk about my bona fides to even talk about this. So I am a technology professional, have been for about 15 years. Been using computers since I was 13. My first computer was an Atom computer, probably back in 1983. Thank you very much to my father who bought that for me. He didn't know anything about computers, thought they were kind of silly, and but he knew, he knew I wanted it, and he was very supportive, and so that was really nice. I have a degree in political science. I actually do consider it part of my technology skills because it taught me how to read, taught me how to research, and then I went on. I got an A+ certification. And then I got a master's in technology management. So when I talk about this issue today, that's kind of where this is coming from. Because there are people who could talk about this with a little more expertise, but there's people who could talk about it with a little less. But I've seen this distinct issue. So this is the issue that I'm talking about today is internal tools. So companies essentially they build all kinds of functionality for all kinds of customers, for all kinds of vendors, and they build different products, right? So one of the things is as they're building this software, usually they're going to say, we need a new, unique software tool, right? So there's this juncture where small and large companies come to and they say, we've looked at all the off-the-shelf software that's out there, and we need to build our own tool for this, right? Now, this is a very, very important decision. There are times where a company should build their own tool to build software. Basically, if nothing on the market will do what you want to do, then you should consider building your own tool. But if you're going to build your own internal software tool, you really need to know what you're getting into, right? So one, this is not going to be a simple, cheap, or short project generally. It's going any internal tool grows like a weed, right? People will continue to add functionality onto it because it doesn't come with all the problems that off-the-shelf software comes from. So there are two types of off-the-shelf software. There's commercial off-the-shelf software, and the problem that comes with primarily is licenses. Licenses are very costly, right? And when you buy an off-the-shelf piece of software, you're going to pay an upfront fee for the license, and then you're going to pay a maintenance fee every single year for a license, and it can be very costly, right? The other type of off-the-shelf software is open source software, which is often, not always, but often free, and that's why people choose it. So these open source software pieces, they're chosen because they're free, right? The problem there is they don't have robust support for them, right? Or even if you want support, a lot of open source software has now gotten to be used so much that there are companies that support it, so you end up paying for support. So the free product you thought was going to be free, you're now paying for support, right? So that's why people build their own tools. But building your own tools really comes with its own unique concerns, right? So some of these concerns are, one, when you build this, right, you're gonna incur the cost of coding it, and coders are expensive. You're gonna have to test it, right? You're gonna have to, and then you're gonna have to maintain it, right, with your own people, right? And here's the problem with internal tools, right? Basically, when internal tools are created, there's a push. There's usually a champion within the company who says, let's build this internal tool, all right? And everybody's like, yeah, let's do it. And so they do, right? And so then you got the guy who built it, or the woman who built it, and they're excited about it, and they're caring for it, and they're growing this thing, right? So, but the problem then that happens is then there's a problem with the internal tool. And then you have functionality products that are already out on the market that are customer facing, right? And so there's a problem with your product that's customer facing, and there's a problem with your product that is the internal tool, right? So the internal tool always gets it's always the last tool to get care and feeding, and so basically the products for the shiny products for your customers that are customer facing get fixed first. And so you don't take coders off of those products to fix internal tools. So after months or years, internal tools are just crudded up, and they're just not maintained well, right? Because you're not going to take hotshot coders off of customer-facing products to fix an internal tool that you created, right? So this is very problematic. In addition to that, right, The other danger that they have is that the coder, the champion, and often the champion and the coder are different, right? And that could be a problem too, right? So if your champion leaves the company, now you don't have anybody to keep that thing, who's excited about it, right? And that means it's really going to be secondary concern, and it's just not going to get the maintenance and support it needs, right? Or your coder leaves. That's even worse. The person who coded it, if they didn't, do a good job of referencing their code, you could be in serious trouble. So when you go down this road, really think twice. Now there's good. Now basically, if you look at all the off-the-shelf tools and you say these just don't quite fit our needs, we'd have to do a lot of configuration. Don't even think about building an internal tool. If the configuration is heavy, buy the off-the-shelf software or take the open source software and do the configuration. You're much better off doing that than building your own internal tool. If there's nothing on the market that does what you're looking for, and this is integral to your business, this is really key to what you do, it's key to the unique value you supply to customers, then yes, build an internal tool. Okay? But don't even think about it if those aren't the case, because they can be very costly. And if your coder leaves, right, and they, again, that's a real issue. So here's one thing: if you do, that's what you want to think about if you're going to build an internal tool. If you do build an internal tool, be ready, right? So here's what you need to do. One, you need to back up the champion, right? You need to find somebody who is going to be the champion when the champion wins the lottery, is abducted by aliens, or moves on to a different company, right? Same with the coder. You need another subject matter expert on that tool. That you do not want a single point of failure on either the champion or the coder on the internal tool, right? The other thing is you would not believe how quickly the costs on these internal tools can ramp up, right? So just be aware of this when you go into building internal tools. I have seen extremely productive, valuable internal tools, but they took a lot of time and a lot of coders and a lot of maintenance, right? It's cool if you understand that, but don't tread down this road lightly, right? That's good if you're willing to do that, but just be aware of that. So that's my take on internal tools, and thank you.